At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
About a month ago, Mike Isaac, a tech reporter at the New York Times, received a strange message on his phone.
Yeah, it was funny. It was like 10:30 at night, and it's basically just like this note out of nowhere. I had to accept the request because I didn't know who it was, and it was like, "Hey, Mike, just FYI, I've been scraping the, open playlist data from a number of public figures for about a year now, and created a website just to kind of show off how much of people's listening habits are public. Oh, by the way, you're on it too. Take a look."
The website was called the Panama Playlist, a riff on the infamous Panama Papers, a massive leak that exposed millions of financial records from big spenders using an offshore law firm. Some big names were in the Panama Playlist, but it was much lower stakes.
It was like the type of music that J.D. Vance would listen to, or someone supposedly with the name J.D. Vance and the playlist J.D. Vance would listen to under a playlist called Making Dinner, right? And so it would be like the Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way, or a Justin Bieber song, things where, sure, I've listened to these songs, but it might not be the ones I'm like tweeting out for all my friends in the public to see.
According to the Panama Playlist, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi is a fan of Nelly's Hot in Here. OpenAI's Sam Altman has a playlist of tracks he's Shazammed, one that includes Missy Elliott's iconic Get Your Freak On. Dozens of high-profile public officials and tech executives appeared to have their Spotify playlists exposed in the leak. And then there was Mike.
The one that I played the most, 139 times, was this song called Huggin' and Kissin' by Big Black Delta. It's like it's a mix between like Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails kind of thing, like industrially. It's pretty good for like jogging or something.
His colleague at the Times, Kashmir Hill, had a playlist on there called Writing Music. It had a lot of post-rock and ambient tracks. I started listening to it, and I really dug it. We should be clear that the playlists aren't 100% confirmed. For the Times, Mike and Kashmir reached out to a handful of folks on the website. Some confirmed it was them, while others denied it. But for Mike, he knew that his playlist was accurate. And as a tech reporter who covers data privacy, the fact that his data got leaked caught him by surprise. And that surprise caused some internal reflection.
I kind of grew up in an era of the internet, let's say like the AOL Instant Messenger days back in, where the social media was kind of like just getting started, Friendster, MySpace, this era where we started figuring out how much of ourselves were online, how much we sort of were allowing ourselves to be put out there. Went through enough privacy scandals and backlashes over the years to lock myself down, right? Or at least become more familiar with privacy settings over time. So it was embarrassing when I'm just sort of realizing how much of my stuff was kind of out there. It's like one of those stories where every so often we have some other thing pop up in the news. Venmo, when the public transactions are on by default, right? It's these things where it could be innocent stuff or whatever, but taken collectively or in the right or wrong context or whatever, it can be more revealing than I may be comfortable with.
Today on the show, the Panama playlists revealed the music taste of some of the most powerful people in the country. What does that say about your data privacy? I'm Shayna Roth, filling in for Lizzie O'Leary. You're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
If you're running a business, you know every customer matters. Whether you're a one-person operation or have a large team that needs better collaboration tools, OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that streamlines and scales your customer communications. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer, and your team can share one number and collaborate on customer calls and texts like a shared inbox. Plus, OpenPhone's AI agent can be set up in minutes to handle calls after hours, answer questions, and capture leads, so you never miss a customer. See why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone to manage their businesses' calls and texts. OpenPhone is offering What Next TBD listeners 20% off the first 6 months at openphone.com/TBD. That's OPENPHONE.com/TBD. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. The person behind the Panama playlist called himself Tim when he reached out to Mike. It was a pseudonym, and he told Mike he didn't want to reveal his identity in case the backlash got him into hot water. But then Mike tweeted out a link to the project, and it went pretty viral. That's when Tim revealed his actual identity, Riley Walls.
He's a 23-year-old engineer who, funny enough, the Times had profiled a month earlier for a different project he did playing with data. And he kind of has this history of just sort of combing what's out there on the internet and compiling it and using it to tell stories, interesting stories. And I think he really cares about privacy, cares about how tech companies use your information, how people may not be aware of what's out there, and kind of like almost like the old school public service journalism that you would see on like nightly news or something, right? Going and like investigating a thing. But he, unlike a old school journalist, he has fun with it. He's clever, he's funny. He kind of like wants to do this in a way that people go, huh, and someone like you would want to talk about it on a podcast, like it works, I think.
Can you describe how Riley was able to get this information from such a wide variety of people?
Yeah, so it's this I actually really admired about him. A lot of his methods, I would say, are basically a type of investigative journalism and digging, right? He uses his engineering skills to do what's called scraping, continuously sort of suck in data from Spotify's, public API, what's called an application programming interface, which means like the information you can get from what's going on in the site, or running bots that he programmed on certain people's pages to continuously sort of like learn the information about what they're listening to, suck it up, and save it to do with what he will, create, in this case, create like a site with playlists.
But the information wasn't able to give him the full picture. So to narrow down which songs and playlists belong to which people, Riley went and did some further forensics.
First, he would just type people's names in. And funny enough, one feature of Spotify initially with usernames is that people's usernames would correspond to their playlists, and it would just sort of be pretty easy to find someone by their username. But, they've changed things over the years. You can make your username different. It can be a thing that doesn't have to be your name. And so he had to do some sort of like digging around, and what he would do is see if he'd say he typed in Sam Altman or Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, who's also on the list. He would try to see, did they share this playlist with another familiar name who might be in their world, someone that's ostensibly they're connected to. And he did that. Carolyn Levitt, for instance, she, again, the playlist she had called Baby Shower, he noticed that a month later in real life, she had the birth of a child. And so like he would do these sort of connecting the dots, with the big caveat that he did not go to these people for comment. So they may or may not be them. And that's where we came in and actually started asking people for comment, basically.
So when you came in, were you able to get a sense of how accurate the website is? I mean, I know that you went through and tried to verify directly with a few different people, but do you have a sense of how certain people can be that these playlists belong to these people?
Yeah, we had, I would say, scattered luck. There's about 50 people on the list. We pinged about half of them, just the ones we were going to mention in the story, and like just to get a good sampling of how right or wrong this is. As you might expect, a lot of people did not want to get back to us on this. Some were more embarrassed than others. Some didn't want to talk about it. We had a few on the record no's. Governor Ron DeSantis' spokesperson said it was not his. Hakeem Jeffries' spokesperson also said it was not his. Sam Altman did not respond. And then after this went up, seemed to really have read it, because immediately I got a ping from one of his spokespersons who said it was not his, which is interesting. But there were a lot of people, like mine was real, Kashmir's was real, a lot of the journalists on here were real, a few of the tech executives, Palmer Luckey, who runs Anduril, a tech company out here. Brian Armstrong also confirmed his, CEO of Coinbase. So like enough of them were real that we were like, this guy's onto something.
How did Spotify react to this whole project?
They didn't love it, I think. Their statement in the piece is like very clearly like, look, he, first of all of this we have not changed anything. It's been public for years. Like, that people can control us and make their list private if they wish. And they said, this man is scraping our websites, which is a breach of our terms of service. He shouldn't be doing this. Riley told me they sent him a cease and desist letter, which he promptly ignored because he felt like it had no merit, but they're not happy with it. And I think they're sensitive to privacy stuff, because every so often, like, one of these like weird flare-ups happens. And, years ago, they did this thing people probably don't remember now, but with Facebook back in, I want to say the early 2010s, or even as late as like 2007 or 8, where you would automatically share what you're listening to your Facebook feed if you had an integration with Spotify. And it took everyone by surprise. It was suddenly like blasting it to your entire feed, and they had to roll it back because it was just a violation. But, they're not changing it. I think they do believe that playlists are social, and people, and like, to their credit, like, I do share playlists when I want to, right? We find new music through each other on public playlists, and like, it's part of how people sort of share parts of themselves. So I don't think they're entirely wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, even my friends' daycares or kindergartens or things like that, the teachers are constantly like, we listen to this playlist, and it's got all of that to help you figure out like, what terrible song is your child humming all the time?
I'm guessing Frozen is somewhere still in there. I'm not sure. The Frozen soundtrack.
Sure, there's Baby Shark will never leave my brain. So do we know how the other people in the Panama playlist felt about their listening habits being leaked? Were they upset? Were some of them proud?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I sort of expected everyone to be embarrassed. But no, there were people who were super into it. I talked to one person, Jacob Hellberg, who is a Trump nominee for a State Department position, and it's sort of tech guy out here. And he was like, "Look, I'm not, it's an old playlist of mine, but I'm not embarrassed of it. It's top 40 stuff." He had Charlie XCX, he had Chaperone, and he said, like, this is what I listen to. We shouldn't have to like, be posers who say I only listen to like esoteric unreleased EP from this band in Norway you've never heard of or whatever. And I agree. I think I appreciate that, I think, and then some other founders were like, hey, yeah, this is what I listen to. I wasn't expecting to reveal it, but it is me. So I do think there was like a cross section of how people felt about it.
When we come back, the Panama playlists show just how much of our data, no matter how serious, is out there. How many SaaS applications are being used at your company right now? Can't keep count? You're not alone. Trellica by 1Password helps you discover and secure access to all your SaaS apps, even unmanaged shadow IT. Trellica by 1Password inventories every app in use at your company. Then the app pre-populates profiles to assess risk, letting you manage access, optimize spend, and enforce security best practices across every app your employees use. Manage shadow IT, securely onboard and offboard employees, and meet compliance goals. Trellica by 1Password provides a complete solution for SaaS access governance and is just one of the ways that extended access management helps teams strengthen compliance and security. With regular third-party audits and the industry's largest bug bounty, 1Password exceeds the standards set by various authorities and is a leader in security. Take the first step to better security for your team by securing credentials and protecting every application, even unmanaged shadow IT. Learn more at onepassword.com TBD. That's onepassword.com TBD, all lowercase.
Save big during Labor Day at Lowe's. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, buy more to get up to an additional 20% off. Shop even more savings with 3 Stay Green 1 cubic foot vegetable and flower garden soil bags for $10. This Labor Day, take care of your home for less at Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 9/3. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. Select locations only. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Spotify keeps playlists public by default, which was something that you didn't realize. I don't think I haven't used Spotify in a long time, but I don't think I realized that. I actually had to go back through and be like, what is public here? What is private? Why is public the default with Spotify?
Yeah. It's funny. One thing we were talking, Cash and I were talking to our editors about, and we're like, how much of this is generational? Like, are there going to be a bunch of Zoomers saying you're an idiot? Of course, this is public, which probably happens to me a lot. There's probably things that people half my age know that I don't all the time. But I do think this story resonated because there are a lot of people like you and I who just don't, suspect that our stuff is on by default, public by default. And I think that's really the point for not just Spotify, but for a lot of tech companies today is the whole idea is to keep you coming back, sort of interacting with your friends, making products social when perhaps you don't even imagine them to be or want them to be, I would argue Spotify probably has a better use case for social sort of interaction than some other things. Like I can't, like Venmo's sort of like list of transactions that all of my friends see that I pay different people. There's no way on earth I would want people to see that. Like there's no reason for me to show off who I'm paying and what I'm paying for, or like think about Snap, right? Snapchat is very popular with young people still. There's a feature called Snap Maps, which has also recently been cloned by Instagram. And you can keep your location on all the time. So your friends can see wherever you are, whenever you are there at all times. I am someone who would never, ever do that. I hate the idea of like passively sharing my location all the time. But I think there's a lot of, again, young people use this stuff all the time. They want to find their friends. They want to know where they are. And this idea of like serendipitously meeting your friends in the wild because this tech product has nudged you to do it might be attractive to them. So I really think this is like a thing that more companies want to pursue, but they also have to do the delicate dance of not making everyone mad when they accidentally find out how much they're sharing about themselves.
You say in your piece that you thought the Panama playlist situation was funny, but a little unsettling. Why unsettling?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where I do appreciate, look, I'm on Twitter, now known as X, like all the time, just like riffing and talking about my work, talking about whatever. I've been on Twitter for too long, like more than a decade. And like, I think I'm on Instagram, I'm on all these other things. And it's like, I'm aware of and comfortable with sharing parts of myself online. That's what I've chosen to do, in part because of my job, in part just because of how I live my life. Right. What I don't like is when I feel robbed of that choice to do it in the way I want to do it, and Spotify can say, hey, look, we never changed anything. This is the way it's always been. But it's very explicitly designed that it's public by default and you have to sort of dig into a setting to turn it off. And like anyone who studies user interfaces can tell you there are like dark patterns of pushing people to do things. And this is 100% a way of keeping this stuff public for everyone, basically. And so I don't know, I'm maybe it's because of my age or the generation I grew up in or how long I've been online, but I'm someone who likes a little bit more granular and transparent controls than folks who don't care either way.
And I feel like your music taste says a lot about your personality. I know that I have some private playlists that are mainly just because I'm like, this is music that I don't think anybody needs to know that I enjoy, or this is like something that I need to have accessible when I'm having a meltdown or something like, or when I just like really need to like shake my body, but nobody needs to know that. And I think that there's something about this being music that also would just give me pause. Like, this is just something that I don't think people need to know about me. So why would they?
No, I totally agree. And like, I think music does really say something about us and what we care about and what we listen to. And like, there's a reason why, people ask you what sort of bands you're into, and that says something about you, and again, like I decide who to share what with, and I may tell someone, hey, I like this one band, but I didn't tell them that I've listened to the song 139 times, which was
that's the other thing. You don't want people to know how many times you've listened to said song. Now that gets embarrassing. Particularly
that was my
for me.
listing. That was my listing, where it was like, Mike has listened to this a zillion times. I'm like, oh God, all right.
So I think it's safe to say that you and I think about data privacy maybe more than your average person. And yet I would never think about the privacy of my Spotify account? Because it feels innocuous, like we've talked about. It's just, it doesn't seem like something that should be automatically public.
Mm.
And having had your personal Spotify listening habits exposed, do you think that's still the case? Is it still innocuous to you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say innocuous, but I also I fully acknowledge this is not like state secrets, right? Like this is not something that is going to kill me or whatever that I'm disclosing. That said, look, like people label playlists and make playlists for all sorts of stuff. Like they're like, some folks have had like doing drugs playlists or like making love playlists or like there's all sorts of stuff where you wouldn't want it out there, and it can be especially if you know what time someone's listening to it or where or when. Like there are ways of this being more damning than you would think. So for me, on the long list of privacy invasive products in technology, I wouldn't put this at the top, but I do think that people like Riley provide something of a service when they at least raise our attention to this matter a little more than we otherwise would have.
Well, do you think it's changed the way you think about your general privacy online at all? Like, have you started kind of combing through your other apps and trying to figure out maybe checking those data settings there?
Yeah, totally. There's on Substack, that was the other thing. One of our other colleagues, Jessica Testa, told us Substack also sort of can allow people to see what paid and free subscriptions you're reading, which again, like reading habits is another sort of personal thing that you may or may not choose to disclose to people. I dug around in there. I made sure my Venmo account was not public or anything. I sort of triple checked some of these like settings that I have. And I think it was a nice reminder that I need to lock all my stuff down.
Do you think, given that your playlists have gone public, that you are going to be more cognizant of what you listen to on Spotify? Is it going to change your listening habits at all?
Well, here's the funny thing. I actually switched from Spotify to Apple Music a few months ago. And so Apple Music does not have the same issues that Spotify does. So interestingly enough, I fixed that problem. But I think if I were still on Spotify, there are some things I do miss about Spotify. I used it for so long that it's hard to fully get rid of. But if I were still on it, I definitely would have... I would be paying much more attention to how much people can see about me and maybe what I'm clicking to public by default or not.
Mike, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about your playlists.
Thank you. Please don't judge me.
Mike Isaac is a tech reporter for the New York Times. And that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell and Patrick Fort. Our show is edited by Paige Osborne. Mia Lobel is the executive producer at Slate. And TBD is part of the larger What Next family. Now, if you're looking for even more Slate podcasts to listen to, I highly recommend checking out Thursday's episode of What Next. It's all about the race to develop synthetic blood. We'll be back on Sunday with an episode all about what's going on with the movie studio A24. You won't want to miss it. I'm Shayna Roth, filling in for Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.